Hello, and welcome to our first psychology podcast. This is members from Psychology Club, and we are here to tell you a little bit about psychology and what we do in the club. So to start off, the definition of psychology is the study of mind and mental processes. So this really focuses on your behaviors, what affects your behaviors, and who you are and how you can get better as a person and how you interact with others as well. Psychology is not necessarily an old study of social science. It started with Wilhelm Wundt in Germany in the 1800s, and he set up the first psychological lab where he studied reaction times and how quickly people reacted when they heard a certain sound that was played. From there, famous psychologists include Sigmund Freud, who created the defense mechanisms, which many of you probably actually use in real life, and the psychosexual stages. So we have a lot of historical and modern characters in psychology. One that you may have heard about is Philip Zimbardo with the Stanford prison experiment, and I think you will hear more about him later in this podcast.
So one of the activities that we did in Psychology Club was Psych in the halls, where we looked up psychology facts and we printed them out and put them all up around the school. A few of the facts are money does buy happiness, but up until $75,000. And that's because people who live below the poverty line would be happier if they had extra income to buy necessities. However, once you have enough money to support yourself, money no longer has an effect on happiness. Another fact is when you remember an event, you are actually remembering the last time you remembered it. Our memories are reconstructions of the last time we thought of the memory. This means that pieces of false information can accidentally be added into our memory. Another fact is, on average, it takes 66 days to form a habit. Our minds take some time to create new neurological pathways, and therefore, we need to spend time creating the past before things like exercising become habits.
Psychology Club tries to meet every other Thursday in C123. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please email Miss Riley or Miss Bolak, or you can get the daily announcements for our next meeting time.
Okay, so I just wanted to fill you in on some of the future episodes that we want to do. We would love to do some case studies looking at famous people in psychology. So if you have an interest in serial killers or famous historical figures or even modern celebrities and why they act the way that they act, you should tune in for some of our case study podcasts. In addition, we want to look at some really famous studies in psychology like the Stanford prison experiment, where Philip Zimbardo locked a bunch of college students up in the basement of an old psychology building for a week to see what would happen. We would also love to talk about some careers in psychology. So if you've ever had an interest in maybe going into psychology in college, you could listen to the podcast for some of the career pathways that might be open to you and see what you find interesting. We also would love to look at some experimental videos that you can follow along with us. Lastly, we would love to hear what you want us to talk about. So if you have a particular topic in psychology that you would like to learn more about, we would love for you to email either Miss Riley or Miss Bullock with your topic suggestions, and we'll do a little bit of research and create a podcast just for you. Thanks so much for tuning in for our first psychology podcast.